Hey, I'm Andrew. I'm a product and system automation builder, and today we're going to look at OpenAI's new agent builder. We're going to go through all the features, we're going to see how it stacks up to NAN, and we'll see if it really is a game changer. So first thing we have to do is actually get to the screen, which is a little bit more cumbersome than I expected. So we're just going to Google ChatGPT agent builder, and we're going to go to this first non-sponsored link so we don't give Google any money, and you'll see here we come to the OpenAI docs screen, and we'll get all these docs about the agent builder, which is great. And you'll see this big button. We'll click on that and we'll find ourselves in the agent builder. There's a couple templates that they've pre-built for us. You can kind of click through and see how one of these might be built. So those are kind of good reference point just to see, what OpenAI thinks is useful. A couple of them are pretty cool. I like the customer service one. It's a little bit more robust than some of the other ones. It's basically routing through how a customer support request might be handled, which is interesting. So we're going to go back and we're going to look at a couple of the ones that I've been building. So I'm focused on building things that I would find useful. So this is product oriented. This would be something that might be useful for a product manager to help build requirements and things. But we're not going to focus too much on that just yet. First, we're going to look at all these different features and see what's what. So we can see on the left-hand side here, we have all of our available options. If you're coming from NAN, this might look very bare bones because it kind of is. There's not really a lot to it right now. So let's go through these. Up at the top, we have agent. You pull this in, kind of go through the settings and everything in here. The agent node is, as you would expect, it's an agent. It has the ability to take instructions. You can select the model from the different OpenAI models. You can set the reasoning level, which is pretty cool. You can add in tools, which we'll look at that in a second. Set the output format, which is nice. It attacks JSON. The JSON formatting is pretty interesting, and so far with my testing works really well, and I've struggled with that in NAN, so I like that. You can set your properties here, so you can say like whatever property A, and that should be whatever. When you're using this, it will actually pre-populate with some things. So if we were to go to this one here, I have my JSON set up. You can see it actually in the JSON format, or you can go to the simplified view and you can see, you can give it a description of what you want to return here. So when you're setting these up, you can select your type as you would expect, give it a name, description, all that kind of stuff. Very nifty and, basically what you would expect there. If we expand this down, there's more things. You get verbosity for your model. You can have this summary, detailed, auto, or null. So this would basically just tell you, you've seen it working through its thought process in a chat. This would show that to you. So detail would be more detailed. Auto, I guess, is determining which direction it wants to go. I haven't really played with that one too much yet. Chat kit, display response in chat, show search resources, so if it has sources. In the advanced, you have continue on error, so definitely familiar from the N8N world. If there's an error on one of these, it'll just keep going along with that error. You also have write conversation history, which you can store these, and then that would go over here in your logs. So you can kind of see, what you've talked about in the past, which is pretty cool. Do like that. And that's pretty much it on this agent node. It's very user-friendly, I have to say. So the other ones, we'll go through some of these quickly. End is just termination. So if you don't want anything to happen, if a certain criteria is met, you can just end it. Note is one of these, it's like a sticky note. Why is this if else box so big? Everything else is so small, kind of weird. File search. This will work with OpenAI's vector store. So if you have this set up, you can integrate with this. I have nothing in here, but pretty cool that you can tie that in. One thing I don't really love is that the delete button isn't over here on the node. It's all the way over here on the little settings pane, so I gotta mouse all the way over there. What else? So guardrails. Guardrails is a pretty interesting one. This is basically the ability to keep your agent on the rails and not get into content that you don't want it to. So this has things like moderation. So you can have certain categories of content excluded, which is really nice. So obviously in a lot of cases, you don't want these things to show up, so it can prevent that from happening. You could also handle PII, which is good. This jailbreak one is interesting. It detects prompt injection and jailbreak attempts to keep the model on task. So it will basically, if someone's trying to fiddle with your agent, it will help provide an extra layer of protection so someone doesn't break it or hack it. This hallucination one tries to detect hallucinations and not return those to you. And then again, continuing on error here. All right, next up is, this would be an area where you expect there to be a lot of interesting stuff in here. If we click add, we can see the available options are a little bit limited by default. So you have some of the Google tools, some Microsoft stuff, Dropbox seems sort of like the odd company out in this group. I'm kind of curious why them of all companies is featured there. Then we have some third-party servers down here. Box, they didn't get to be in the top group, huh? Dropbox is favored. Zapier, Shopify, Intercom, some other things. You can also add your own, which is nice. I've played around with the Google ones, which works well. It's basically similar to what would happen if you integrated a workflow with Google Drive or Google Calendar, although they are a little bit more limited here from what I can tell. So you can search events and fetch event details, so no event creation. Same with this, you can search messages, read messages, no sending. And here as well, searching files, listing, all that. No create capabilities, which is a little bit of a bummer. I do like to actually create things from time to time. Again, kind of the same things. It's a lot of read access. So I imagine as you add in more functionality here, tie in more things, you're going to get more value out of this. So obviously very early, but a little bit sparse out of the box. If you add your own server here, you can do more. Obviously a little bit of a barrier to entry there, but at least you have the option. In this logic grouping here, we have an if else statement, which I have here. You can set up your own if else statement using common expression language. This will direct your flow based on, what criteria you put in here. So the output for this, let's see if I can do this really quick. So erase that. If you're trying to have this step output, whether a feature is for a buyer type of user versus a seller type of user on a two-side marketplace platform, you can have it, first of all, output in that format with the JSON formatter tool that we looked at before. And then here you can look for that specific output. So you can look at output text and you just click that. You just click that and then you say equals. and then you can put in what you want. So for this one, it was buyer. And down here, we put it to seller. Very easy. It guides you along the way with these little shortcuts. So you're not gonna have to know how to do this all on your own, which is great. I don't know why it shows it here written out as this expression. If this is supposed to be for more entry-level people, it's not the most intuitive. I would prefer it just as hidden so we get a smaller node and it doesn't look like this giant thing, but that's nitpicking. So that's what that does. Whoa, this one's also big. Again, you're creating loops with this one. You can create expressions for this. I haven't really played with this one yet because I haven't figured out a great use case for it. I'm sure I will as I play with this more. But you know, if you wanted to, I guess, feed in a list of things and then loop through them one by one, you could do that kind of thing, but I haven't really done anything like that yet. Next is user approval. So this is cool. I love this. You can basically have a human in the loop by default. Let the person approve it through the chat. So this gives you a chance to interject before it keeps doing a whole bunch of things. So if this was like a 20-step process, somewhere along the way, you might want to say, I think this is going the right way, let's approve it. Or no, you're way off the rails, let's reject it. And that will kill the process so you don't end up doing a whole bunch of work for no reason. So I love that. Love that you can do this, and they have a node built for it. That's very cool. All right, down here we have data transform and data set state. So these are kind of like your set node here. Again, you can do this like easy mode with the little assisted input thing here. Really cool. And you can assign it to a variable, so you can create variables, you know, give it a name if you want it to be a string, number, boolean, all these things. Similar to a set node in NaN. If you've never used NaN, it's fine. Just giving it a comparison for people who are familiar with it, since this is getting a lot of comparisons and questions to whether or not this is a NaN killer. This transform one is interesting. I have only used this to basically combine outputs. So you can see that they're coming from two different streams, and I want them to be combined into one thing to pass along to this agent down there. So it can do things like that. You can input an expression here, or you can do it through this schema editor. You know, here I've created a property called all features, and it takes the output from these two and combines it. Aside from merging data, this might be something where you like standardize the formatting of something. It also might be somewhere where you do a calculation if you wanted to, you know, if you're using integers. So this is good for basically just like cleaning things up before it moves down the road in your workflow. So those are all the nodes. Let's clean this up. One thing we're going to look at in this video is whether or not this new agent builder is an NaN killer. I think it'll be pretty interesting to see how it holds up. Okay, so we've gone through all the tools, and we have this little workflow that I built here. I think this is an interesting example of what you can do with this agent builder. It's definitely a lot simpler than what you would build in NaN. It doesn't have integrations to everything. It doesn't do non-AI things. Like, this is all AI. These are all agents and things in between agents. NaN can do a whole bunch of different things. You can move data from one place to another. You can do these transformations, but with the purpose of them, say, going into a database or a Google Sheet or whatever the case may be. You're not going to get this here. They can't even write to any of those things. They can use all of OpenAI's stuff, but you know, obviously that's limited, and it is theirs. Like, it's not you know, if you want to use something else, if you have a preference for something that you're loyal to, it's going to be a little bit more challenging. Obviously, you get into the MCP servers, you can do way more. So this is just, you know, right now, if you're doing this with the available tools and not extending it further with MCP. So here's the vision for this agent. Pretty simple. Concept is, I have an idea for a feature, or maybe multiple features. I want to pass those in to this agent and then have it review them, summarize them, determine whether they're for a buyer or a seller, and then kind of expand upon it a little bit to give it a little more meat. And once it's determined if it's a feature that's for a buyer or a seller user, so again, in a two-sided marketplace, so like an Etsy type site where you have somebody who's a buyer user who's on there shopping and a seller who's setting up a shop. So it'll determine which user the feature goes to, and then each of these agents will have its own kind of analysis of that feature for that particular persona. And if it ends up having multiple features, it can go to both of them, and then it can be combined at the end. And then our agent down here is an engineer, reviewer, who will kind of do a technical analysis and try to figure out what technical pieces might be required, what potential pitfalls might arise, how the work could be broken down into small pieces so that you can do it incrementally, all that kind of stuff. So I see this being useful. Just one, you could actually probably use this output to create user stories. That's part of the flow. Put those into tickets, and if you could connect this to Jira or something like that, then you can get all this done automatically if you so choose to do that. But it's also a good way to get a gut check. If you have an idea for a feature, who's it for? What's the value of it to this audience? And then what's the technical effort? What are the technical steps required? That way, you just want to get a sense of, is this something we should consider? Is it a lot more work than I'm thinking? You can do that without, having a team meeting. If you go through this and determine, hey, this isn't that bad, let me bring it up to the team. You could also speak to it a little bit more intelligently that way. A lot of what I did in this setup is really just kind of prompting, honestly, and then picking some of these settings, setting up the JSON schema, which I did in this view. I did not do this advanced view. So setting the properties that I want to create, giving it a description, all that kind of stuff. That helps to move things along in a structured way. Obviously I have this if-else statement, goes to the next one, all that stuff. In order to actually preview this, I had to verify my organization through the dashboard. So if you haven't done that yet, you're not going to be able to do this. It's a step where they make you scan your driver's license and do like a live photo of your face turning left and right. I don't know why, but you have to do it, and I did it so I could preview it. So we're going to just run this through and you can see what it looks like, and then we'll kind of talk about this a little bit. I have a couple features I put into Notion earlier, so I'm just going to grab these. Won't let me hit Shift Enter to put these on other lines, so it looks really weird, but basically the features that we're going to run through here is a pet breed recommendation engine. So if this is a niche marketplace site for custom pet products, this recommendation engine could be something for people to put in their pet breed, their size, the lifestyle, and get recommended products. The other one could be a product description writer that generates SEO-friendly listings using uploaded photos and product tags. So we'll hit enter. When I did this earlier, I actually hit a couple random errors, so I had to do this a few times, but this time it's going pretty well. Oh, we hit the end. Interesting. Okay, let's try this again. Let's just do one at a time. this output it's giving me is not formatted. Not formatted how I would like. Yeah, so we want text output. Huh. All right, try one more time. Okay, so before we were seeing kind of what was happening to me before, where it wasn't going all the way through, it wasn't completing the action, and I'm not sure exactly why, but if you do it a few times, I guess ultimately it works. So you can see the response it gave me here. It gave me a little summary of it. The areas of opportunity, these are things that I asked for in this. Additional features that this type of new feature could open up to us, revenue opportunities, key metrics to track, like all things that would be good for a product manager to know. Then it gets into user stories related to the project, validation and risk considerations, and then the engineering review, which is awesome. The core capabilities, things that you might need to think about here, architectural considerations, requisites, and so like this, the idea here was prerequisites and integrations. So just to make sure you have the structure in place, compatibility concerns, all this. So it's really cool. And at the end, we get all these user stories again now from an engineering perspective. We probably could do one more step here at the end to take everyone's responses and filter it down into one final response. But this is just to show what it's capable of and how this works. It's similar to if you were to go through and just one by one work with different chats and ChatGPT, taking one response, feeding it over to another. You get some pretty good stuff, but again, we're not integrated with anything super complicated. Keeping this very utilitarian and not getting into the advanced features too much here. So, after using this for a few hours, I've done a few different things with this. I did integrate it with Google Drive and did some things where I could query against documents in there, which was interesting. Haven't done a lot of the super advanced things with the MCP just yet, which I am looking forward to. But do I think this is a real competitor to N8N or Zapier? At this point in time, no, I don't think it's there. I think this is great for people with very specific needs where, like in the example that OpenAI built, the customer support agent, that's really cool. I think there's a lot of promise there, but if you're trying to create workflows and automations and systems and things like that, it is a little bit limited right now, but I think that's okay. It's a good stepping stone, and obviously it's a huge company, and over time they're going to add to this. For now, I think this would be something that could be useful mostly for question and answer type stuff and content creation, like text-based for the most part, content creation, which could be things like, writing user stories. It could be writing blogs. You could be writing social media posts. It could really speed up stuff that's done manually right now. Very much so. That can be awesome. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's as far along as some of those other tools that can do way more and hook into way more things and can do things outside of just AI agents. So I don't think, if you're a big N8N person, you have much to worry about. Like N8N, I think's going to be here to stay. And especially right now, it's way more powerful, way more capable. This is a cool add-on, cool additional tool in the toolkit to play with. So I'm excited to see where it goes. If you have any questions about anything in here, things you want to see, maybe do a tutorial on something else, let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to try putting something together for you. If you found this useful, always love a like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.